But here is the problem. If you think that building a great social media presence will lead you to become a professional photographer, I don't think that's possible.
This guy, Michael, also known as the Photography Rebuttal here on YouTube, has now made a couple of videos, one with me tearing apart one of my photo edits, and recently has just released a second video talking about why content creators like North Borders and myself are not professional photographers, or that the way that we shoot will never lead to professional work. So as his channel is appropriately called the Photography Rebuttal, well, I am here to make a response to that video, but it is also a love letter to automotive content creators or photographers who maybe just want to do what they love for a living.
Someone mentions something and it circulates. And whether that information is good information or misinformation, it still circulates. And that's the way social media works.
And that's in part why I'm kind of making this video, is because I think that there's a bit of misinformation in yours that I want to help show the flip side for other content creators. I want to be extremely clear that this is not about disrespecting Michael or his work, as he is a fantastic photographer. This is about commercial photography versus social media or content creation, and whether or not you can make it, professionally speaking, in both realms.
After my last video reacting to the car creative, a lot of you requested that I also do one about North Borders.
So let's break this down. Michael took a YouTube video of mine breaking down a Lightroom tutorial of a subscriber of mine's photo. He tore it apart and he had some really good notes, and he had some notes that I also learned from, and I thought it was appropriate for me to leave a kind comment saying, hey, thanks for tearing apart my photo editing, even though I didn't take the photo. I love that he's adding to the educational space. I thought that was a fair comment. I think it was a fair video to make. That is now his top video on YouTube. But recently he just launched another video tearing apart Mike, North Borders, who a lot of us love and appreciate watching his content. And he also mentioned me in that video. So this is why I feel like it's a little bit appropriate to kind of rebuttal his points, because while some are accurate, there's a lot that I disagree with him on this video.
I honestly don't know why there's that much emphasis in the up-and-coming crowd on social media. Is it because it's just so easy to get into? I agree, it's a very low barrier for entry. Make some content, do it consistently over time, have a little patience, and eventually people will notice you. You might get a lot of subscribers, followers. If you're a YouTuber, you'll qualify for AdSense revenue. The brand deals will come knocking. Before you know it, you'll start making some money. But that has nothing to do with professional photography. So I just wanted to make sure you understand that these are two completely different things.
So I'll start with where Michael and I agree, and then we'll go into the flip side of the coin so I can maybe paint a bigger picture for you guys and educate you further on this car photography space. Well, I agree that commercial photography and social media and or content creation are two wildly different professions. I can agree with you on that. I think that it takes a bit of a different skill set to do the commercial work that Michael does. His photos are fantastic, and the work that he gets paid to do is great. He's a great photographer, so I think he does have a lot to offer on that side of photography. But that's about all we can agree on, as he says you'll never be a pro photographer if you start on social media. And while I agree that the path to success or to being a professional comes very differently, and you maybe need those different skills, I totally disagree that I am not a professional photographer, because I am. And I also want kids or people up and coming in this industry to know that you absolutely can make it by starting on social media. And this is where I'm gonna draw a bit of a metaphor for us. We all love cars, so let's just say Michael's got a real nice Ferrari on this highway, and I've got, like, let's say a Porsche, a still pretty respectable 911, and we're driving on the same highway. And it is my belief that people like Michael in his Ferrari and me in my quote Porsche 911 on this highway should be paving the way for other people like you and maybe your Corolla or some other vehicle to be able to get on this highway and draft behind our successes to learn faster and hopefully make your career a little bit easier to get into. Let me just quote for you here what a professional means. A professional, by definition, is engaged in a specific activity as one's main paid occupation rather than as a pastime. I think a lot of us here on YouTube or on social media, it is a pastime. It is fun for us, and that is a fantastic and should be the place that you start, where it's a passion and you want to go out and shoot as many cars as you can. Now, my understanding of what Michael's saying is you're not going to make it commercially, professionally if you start that way. In fact, in his words, you have to start by mopping the floors of a commercial photographer in order to go that route.
I had to do the cold calling, sell myself, with no experience, to photographers who will pay me $80 a day to mop their floors for them. That's how low I was willing to go so I can learn.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael has been doing this for 25 years. And 25 years ago, Instagram did not exist. So taking the route that we have to take nowadays is a little bit different than Michael's approach to get to where he had to get to as a successful commercial photographer. And while I think metaphorically mopping floors now is different, you do have to put in the work. You do have to stand out in a different way now that we do live in a social culture to be able to make your photography be different. As well, if you do have an opportunity to mop floors for a professional, absolutely, you should do it. I have had hundreds of people reach out asking to shadow me on my jobs. Now, the path to becoming a professional photographer, videographer, or content creator can absolutely come in many different ways, shapes, and forms.
I don't think that the clients are on social media looking for photographers. So the chances of you tagging someone, a brand, and expecting them to hire you for a photo shoot, next to zero, pretty much zero. It just doesn't happen, especially for bigger brands. And if you want to be a car photographer, every car brand is a massive brand. Based on that fact, I don't know how someone trying to grow a social media presence to attract the brands to shoot for them is really the smartest choice.
Well, I hate to say it, but he's absolutely 100% wrong. So you can be found on social media. And in fact, I have a whole podcast up here talking with one of Canada's leading PR firms that hired me to shoot with Toyota Canada on how they found my work and what you can do to curate your social media channels to be found by people like this company. I have had the opportunity to work with massive global brands, one of them being Shell and Ferrari. And if we're maybe to compare or contrast a little bit Michael's journey as a commercial and mine as a content creator, well, I got invited by Shell to go drive Ferraris on a track and create paid content for them. If you go on Michael's social media, it's fantastic. Again, his work is incredible, but they drove the Ferrari to the location, rolled it off, and he got to shoot that static. I'd much rather be driving a Ferrari 296 GTB in Italy, getting paid to do so, than that. So there is no right or wrong way. Both are fantastic. He probably got paid a ton to do that, I would assume, but you can pick your path here and both are fantastic.
But they will probably not hire you to shoot their campaigns.
Aside from myself, I can name 5 people in my close friend group that have done this. And beyond that, there's probably 10 to 20 and beyond that we could find on social media that are fantastic social media content creators that are creating incredible business assets, digital assets, and commercial work for huge brands globally. I can really only speak for myself and say that brands like Subaru, Shell, Ferrari, Toyota, Porsche are just to name a few brands that have reached out to me through social media in order for me to create commercial digital assets that they use. Now, do you see all that professional work that I'm creating for those brands here on YouTube or on Instagram? No, sir, you do not, because those are digital assets provided to those companies to put where they decide to put it. Are those digital assets different than the commercial assets that Michael makes? Absolutely. Yes, they are. But am I professional? Yes, sir. Absolutely, yes, I am. And can this route get me paid and keep a roof over my head? Heck yeah. And I want to encourage other photographers that there is a great route you can take. Is it difficult? Yeah. Is it kind of like mopping the floors? Yes. All that's to say that for a fact, there is a 0% chance that these brands will reach out to you on social. That is just unfortunately misleading. A great video that you guys can watch and probably already have been inspired by is the video by Peter McKinnon calling himself just a YouTuber, where he actually goes and makes a massive branded commercial with Hyundai, and it's blasted all over the Times Square in New York. So that's just a great point that you guys should continue to be inspired that you can make a route to commercial photography and videography starting in social.
So if you go to someone's website like North Borders or The Car Creative, if the first thing you see is them selling LUTs or merch, they're an influencer. If the first thing you see is their photography, they're a photographer. I think it's really that simple.
Now, to rebuttal another point where he calls us YouTubers or content creators not professional photographers, because we're really just on here to sell you guys our LUTs and presets, which he doesn't agree with. What he is starting to learn now is that YouTube is more so actually a business as much as it is a place for us to teach you guys.
YouTube, from a professional photographer's point of view, only covers about 20 to 25% of all the necessary knowledge you need to know to become a professional. I know that if I made a video going in depth about lighting, no one's gonna watch it because that's not trendy. People love to talk about the cameras instead.
So what he's learning is that if he takes YouTubers from the internet and disses their content, like their photo editing style, or say that they're not real professional photographers, he's going to get a lot of views. So what he's starting to realize is, as a YouTuber, when you create content that gets views, YouTube pushes those views. So then you start to create more content like the views you get on YouTube. And that's very similar to what I do. I create tutorials for beginner photographers or videographers who want to have a ton of fun creating car content. And because I treat YouTube like a business, it's appropriate for me to sell a product that helps the people in my niche to further their content. Similarly, Michael is using YouTube to get leads towards the first link in his description, which is selling a service and product, which is his knowledge. So really, Michael and I aren't really any different. We're using YouTube as a business to create leads to sell products to people on the internet. I don't fault him for that one bit. That is what YouTube essentially is. Another reason why Michael is disregarding Mike and I as professional photographers is because our website services the sale of our presets and LUTs. And while that is true, he says the home page should be your photography. Now, on his video, he did showcase my LUTs and presets, which is great. Thank you for helping to market those. But that is not my homepage. My homepage does promote my photography, albeit my website's pretty out of date, and you have to click into the shop. So a little bit misleading on Michael's end there. So in summary to this photography rebuttal of whether or not you can be a professional or not, do I respect Michael and his commercial photography skills? Absolutely, 100%. And I think that he has a lot of education that he can add to this space. But as he's learning how to do YouTube and what works in this business, do I respect how he is growing his YouTube channel by tearing apart other content creators and the way that they've chosen to make their living in life, or to post the content that they've posted for our successful YouTube channels? No, I don't really have a lot of respect for that. I would love to see Michael continue to create content that can deepen our learning past the beginner stages that I tend to teach. I'd love to go over there and learn how to do lighting in a studio. I think that would be highly valuable. But what he's learning is that if YouTube doesn't reward those videos, he won't make them. So hopefully he doesn't continue to do diss videos on other content creators, because in my opinion, I don't know if that's the best way to build a brand. But this is the internet, it's free speech. You are welcome to create whatever you want. And I hope that you help deepen the learning for other content creators on the internet that want to get better at this awesome thing called car photography. Let's let more kids on the highway, and let's help them get better by our teachings. That's my hope, that's my goal. So there is my side of the coin. Can you become a professional photographer by starting in social media? Yep. Heck yeah, and I highly encourage it. If you guys want to learn more on how to do that, you can subscribe to the channel here, because I love to teach you that. If you want to learn more about commercial photography, you can go learn that over on Michael's channel. It's also on mine, but it's different, you know? We do different things, and that's okay. That's totally okay. Hope you guys are doing well. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.